No results found. All right, Mike, hopefully you're popping up on this. I see John. What up, John? Leonard's watching. I'm trying this from the app now, Mike. So, okay, there we go. Invite. Boom. There he is. You're
working.
There we
I don't know what I'm doing. Am I good now?
Man, should I put a tank top on?
Well, here's the story. I don't want to be the only douche in a tank top. I figured you were going to do a tank top. This is my pajamas, literally. Literally, this is my pajamas. Literally, I'll be in the bed tonight. So I'm thinking, no, Jeremy's going to wear a tank top, and I'm going to be wearing a polo like an idiot. And I'm thinking I better wear the tank top, and I'm the idiot now. So
I just got back from dinner with my dad. Today's his first day of retirement, so he came in town, and of course I had to celebrate with a giant steak. So literally just walked in the door. So Big Mac, what up, Lewis? All right. So welcome everybody joining us. Hopefully y'all can see us fine. I can see Mike still got the deep tan going on. So we're kind of doing a follow-up to our previous CKD video. We get a lot of questions, a lot of interest. And honestly, we answer some of the same things over and over. So we thought it might be resourceful just to do a video and talk about a lot of it here. So y'all can reference back to it, and we can answer some questions that you guys have had. So I am going to try to pull up some of these questions on my laptop, since now I don't have to be on that. Still haven't figured out how to do it on a laptop, Mike. All the directions show mobile, so.
you know, I was using my laptop, but it's such an antiquated webcam compared to my Galaxy Note. The quality was just, it was horrible. I couldn't really see much.
Gotcha.
Thanks, Dave. Planet Fitness Black Card Club.
That's right, man. Those that know, know.
Let me tell you something. I dated this figure fitness girl, I don't know, maybe back in 1999, 2000, and tall blonde, about 6 foot. And I used to always go out and see her at the Arnold Classic in Ohio. She was one of the girls in one of the supplement booths. And we were joking around one day about dieting, and she goes, you know what? Tan fat looks better than white fat. So ever since then, that's my motto. So, you know, you get some tan going on. It looks like you dropped a couple of percentage fat points and you didn't lose a damn pound. So that's my little trick.
Yeah, baby. Hi, Stephanie. Okay, I'm just trying to pull up the post that you did so we can talk. Ooh, let's delete that other video.
I mean, I think it's pretty simple what most people want to talk about with regards to that topic at hand. I think there's a lot of people losing a lot of weight, and the questions we get on a daily basis, forget about the carbs for a second.
Yeah.
You know, people are getting to the point where they're like, you know what, I'm getting pretty lean. At what point do I bulk? Or at what point do I, you know, try to put on some muscle now because I haven't been focusing on that? And look, I've been hard on a ketogenic diet for putting on muscle ever since day one when I started doing it in the 90s. I mean, when I first did the diet, it was more of the moderate protein restricted, and I would lose muscle at a rapid rate. It was bad, and I didn't know what to do. Then I started up in my protein, and that's when we started dabbling with the CKD, and that fixed all those issues for me. So I always had this fear, because I actually saw it, where myself and my buddies doing somewhat therapeutic keto, not high fat, but moderate protein, we were just not able to keep our muscle. But I fixed that, at least from the standpoint of maintaining muscle with keeping protein adequate, not necessarily gaining muscle other than a couple of pounds here and there, just from calorie manipulation. Fast forward to now, look, sure, you can gain muscle in a carbless state, so to say. Everything's got to be in check. And I think a lot of people focus on the macros. And the one thing that I see in the gym is what people are lacking is actually working out properly. I watch these guys in the gym working out, and they're just going through the motions. They're barely sweating. I mean, not that it's not a social club. I'm always bullshitting in the gym. People love to hang out. I don't have a problem with that, but they know when it's time to do a set, I tell them, hold on a second. I get to my set. I pretend they don't even exist, you know, and even like the fucking around-itis that's been coined many years ago, it's basically stop slacking off in the gym. Without a proper stimulus, I don't care what you're eating, you're not going to grow. You know, you got a lot of ketogenic coaches. They'll take people and they will put on muscle for a couple of reasons. Their previous macros were horrendous, so they fixed those up, got adequate protein, whatever else they did to them. But their working out was fixed. So you take someone that was half-assing it, maybe on a scale of 1 to 10, they're working at a 5, and that's not adequate stimulus. You know, you need the adequate stimulus, regardless of the fuel you're putting into your body. So when they bump it up to an 8 or 9, of course they're going to put on muscle because the calories are there, the protein is there. They just never had the proper stimulus. Too many people just screw around in the gym. I see it every day. I roll my eyes. The people in the gym for 4 or 5 years, they don't look any different. You know, they're just not working out correctly. You know, that's my biggest thing in general. Forget about what diet you're on. But when it comes to keto and trying to put on any muscle, a lot of people are going to, because the majority of people who go on the diet are looking to lose weight, and a lot of them are coming from a non-trained background. Those type of people are always going to put on muscle. You know, there's really no way around it. If you're all of a sudden eating crap, now you're losing a lot of weight and upping your protein, and now you're working out really hard, you're going to put on muscle. You're a beginner. Even me, when I had a 5-year layoff, I came back after 5 years, and in 6 months, I blew up. 6 months. So, and that was straight keto, okay? So I blew up on keto. It was muscle. I dropped 30 pounds on the scale, and I put on 2 inches on my biceps. That's because I came from a long layoff. So, look, yeah, you can gain muscle. There's never a doubt that you can't gain muscle. For me, and what I've seen, it's not the ideal situation, you know? I fast. I love fasting more than I love the keto part. Fasting is not ideal for putting on muscle. Absolutely not. I don't fast for muscle gain. I can easily maintain the muscle almost with 0 effort when I fast. If I was looking to gain muscle, I wouldn't be fasting anymore. Or if I would, it wouldn't be 18 or 24 or 36 hours like I do. So I think a lot of people hear me say, oh, you can't gain muscle on keto. You can. It's not the type of setup that someone says, hey, I want to get jacked, I'm going on keto. That's not how it works. You know, so really comes down to adequate protein. And me personally, you know me, I'm a protein slut. I eat a lot. So for me, it's a minimum of a gram. I mean, look, I'm 180 and I'm taking in about 250 grams a day. So I don't care if I'm wasting it. It doesn't matter to me. Better safe than sorry. You know, that's my grandmother off the boat Italian. That's her old motto. You never know. Better safe than sorry. So that's me. You can't go wrong. If I'm wasting it, you know what? I'm wasting 70 cents a day. It's minuscule. But most people are just not eating enough protein, and the stimulus is not there. And the other thing, the rest is not there. But, you know, we're in a fasting group. If you guys are fasting all the time to such the point that your eating window is only 4 hours, it's not ideal either. You know, so I'll admit that fasting is not ideal for putting on muscle, but at the same time, I'm telling you, keto is not ideal for putting on muscle. But I like to fast, and I like keto. I can easily maintain it. I can easily add a lot of scale weight, and I'm talking 50-50 fat and muscle, eating 1 meal a day. I've been eating 1 meal a day the past 15 days. I'm probably up 8 pounds. It's a little sloppy, but there is muscle. But you have to consume a lot of calories to do that, a lot. For digestion purposes, I don't really like it. So tomorrow I'm going back to 2 meals a day. I just don't like the feel of 1 meal anymore. But I love the long fasting. I just like the way it makes me feel. So really, guys who don't want to dabble with the carbs, you know, just really bump up your protein and get your ass in the gym the right way. Stop dicking around. I see it. It's like they're going through the motions. They're not really doing anything. There's no adequate stimulus. In fact, when I'm dieting hard, I work out harder than when I'm in a surplus because I'm going to maintain muscle easily with all the calories. When I'm dieting hard, I work out harder than anything because I need to provide that stimulus when I'm in a deficit or I'm going to shrink. So that's, you know, you put on muscle. you're not going to bulk, in my opinion, on keto because it's not really meant to be a bulking diet unless you're going to dabble with the carbs. The first way to dabble with the carbs would be the targeted ketogenic diet. You know, I had done that in the 90s. We did it a little differently than Lewis and everyone else does now. We did more of a 25 grams of dextrose pre and 25 post. I just never liked it. I just wanted carbs once in a while and fully keto the rest of the week. Nowadays, once in a while, I'll dabble with it, and I don't mind it. You know, 10, 12 grams of carbs, coming from someone that doesn't eat carbs, it's a big difference. You know, I actually enjoy the MCTs, I think, even better. I find I have more gas in my tank, literally, you know, when I do that stuff. But I like to work out with nothing in my stomach, and sometimes I don't even like to take a pre-workout. I don't want to feel anything in there. I just get such a better performance. You know, sometimes when I have to work out in the afternoon because of my schedule, and if I've eaten, I just don't like it. I don't feel right. I'm not as strong. You know, it's something I built up since college. Matter of fact, it was even high school. In 11th grade, we did that stupid cybergenics thing. It was this stupid kit where you bought these pills and you had to work out at 5 a.m. And my friends were like, this is crazy. But we started working out at 5 a.m. in 11th grade. And it kind of stuck with me throughout college. So I would get up all the time early. But I would eat because there was no fasting back then. I would eat at 7 a.m. I'd go to college and I would eat every 2-3 hours. My current setup is not meant to put on muscle. That's why I can trick the system by constantly bloating myself up with glycogen, water, and some muscle when I carb up. So you'll see fluctuations with me on a weekly basis in my pictures in the gym. Those come from the 8 pounds of water I put on over the weekend. It does look phenomenal. If you were to put me in a caliper, it's not going to be muscle. I didn't put 8 pounds of muscle on in 2 days. But it looks phenomenal. You know how that works. So people keep asking me, well, what is the whole way to do this? Well, first of all, the way to do the carb cycling is not to do it. I'm just being honest with you. You're not going to do it. You're going to screw it up. Everybody screws it. Even the ones that I teach, they screw it up. You know, when I started doing it in the 90s, I didn't do it like I did today. I would literally just have one meal every Friday, a big everything bagel with turkey and cheese, simple stuff. And then I go right back to my keto meals. And I like that. It kind of switched things up. I was always dropping scale weight. I never really stole, you know. It just I just liked it. But I was too fat for me to really do it right. And then when I started doing Body Opus, Dan Duchesne's advanced CKD, that was really crazy because I tried doing it by the book. I have that obsession. If the book says to do it this way, I have to do it that way. I have to. And I knew Dan, just like I knew Lyle. We were all part of a social media email group list, and we would chat all the time. I even talked to Dan on the phone a few times. So I did the protocol, and it was brutal. I had to wake up every other hour with an alarm in the middle of the night, and I would drink 100 grams of dextrose, carbon force. I was doing that for a couple of weeks. I was getting pretty big, but I wasn't losing any fat. So I reached out to Dan. I said, Dan, this is...
Oh, Mike, I think I just lost you. Dredge, come back. Hang on, guys. Now you did it. Permaban coming right now. Permaban coming.
I don't know what happened. Sorry. Where'd you lose me? What, drinking carbs in the middle of the night?
No, I touched your picture. I was following some instructions. I'm trying to get us on split screen because
You have to turn your phone to do that. You have to turn your phone.
Am I sideways when I do that?
Well, you know what it is? All I see is a little picture of me in the top corner.
Yeah, it says you can't turn your device when you're live. So anyways, it's fine. Your muscles are big enough on screen anymore. And
where did you hear me last?
I don't know because I got distracted trying to find it. You were talking about what you did back in the day versus now.
Yeah, so I had done the Body Opus by the book, and that was waking up every other hour, setting an alarm, and drinking 100 grams of carbs. It was ridiculous. I really didn't like it.
Carbo was the last sentence of what he said.
Right. So I was drinking a Carbo Force every 2 hours in the middle of the night after the depletion workout, and I reached out to Dan. I said, Dan, this is crazy. You know, I'm doing this a couple of weeks. I'm getting strong. I'm getting bigger. I'm not losing any fat, but I'm not getting fatter either. And what's the point? He says, you know what? After further research, it turns out you don't have to consume all those carbs. That's the upper limit, and that's for the genetically gifted. You don't need to do that. So I consume less than that, anywhere from 400 to 800 grams. You know, when people hear that, they lose their mind. That's why I tell people, if for some reason you just want to play around with carbs once in a while, like I said, throw in a meal once in a while, once a week or something like that. You know, maybe every other week. I can't really say you're going to get much benefit from it. For me, it just kind of mentally kept me in check. I knew Friday came and I knew I was going to get my bagel, which leads me to my other statement, which I made every other time we talk about this. You have to earn your carbs. You have to earn your carb ups. If I wasn't leaner in the mirror on the scale or whatnot, the morning of my scheduled carb up, I didn't do it, you know, because it's such a fine line of screwing this up that you will get fat if you don't do it right, because there's just too many carbs thrown around your system, too much water. You know, you put on 8 pounds of water over the weekend and you have to do everything you can to get rid of it and be at least a pound lighter by Thursday, the day before the carb up. And if you're not, in my opinion, you screwed the whole thing up. Now, there's going to be some muscle gain too. So that's why the scale is not the best way to judge. I would always use a measuring tape around my stomach. I would do the calipers. I would just pinch. I would check the millimeters. I wouldn't do the body fat test. I would just do individual readings. You know, and I found that to be the best method. But, you know, the carb ups is simple. I mean, the science behind it, you go online, type in CKD carb up, CKD workout. Everything is there, how to do all that. But in terms of the food choices, some people keep it clean. Sweet potatoes, you know, rice, pasta. I found those things are too heavy for me. I don't like them. I can't eat enough. They're dense, but they're not as calorically dense as I need them to be. And I also found the sloppy cereals to be so much easier to consume, a lot of carbs and not a lot of bulk, you know, and the perfect macros. I mean, cereals, oatmeal, cream of wheat, those are the simplest foods to do this with. Years ago, we would start out on a 2-day carb up. We would have all those high sugar ones on Friday, and then on Saturday, we get more complex. But I've learned over the years that the high glycemic ones, one day is so much better for me. And I don't know if it's just a massive spike in insulin and the subsequent massive drop in blood glucose, but I'm right back in ketosis the next morning. I mean, I pricked my finger when you were here last time, and I was still in there. So that's what I like to do. You know, I don't carb up every weekend anymore. In fact, I had so many snack accidents along the way. The last real scheduled carb up that I earned was back in March. I hadn't done a legit one since March, and then until you came up for the Trench or Treat. I had many little snacks in between that I shouldn't have had, but I went with it, and I utilized it in the gym, and I was getting strong. So you can't do it if you screwed up. If you pigged out Tuesday night, you went out to have a beer, you know what, that's it. You missed out. You know, it requires a lot of discipline. And the mental F game is really messes with you. If you're worried about the scale, you're going to put on anywhere from 3 to 8 pounds during that day or two during the carb ups. It's not fun. And I no longer look forward to the carb up. So when people think, oh, this is just fun for you, I stress out every time it's time for the carb up. The reason why is I don't like how it makes me feel. I love how it makes me feel when I eat a strict keto meal. I can eat so many calories and I don't feel like crap. So I look forward to all my keto meals. I never look forward to the cereal because I know what's going to happen. You know, it's like Niagara Falls in my stomach, and I don't want to feel that way. And I know you had a similar experience, and that's why we started restricting our water a little bit to kind of feel a little better. We didn't have fasting in the 90s to kind of make up with some damage control. So the next day we woke up and we were just bloated and sloshy. But that's why some people are just better off with TKD. You know, you're going to get a good workout. Believe me, you will. There's a little difference, and it doesn't require a lot. When I was doing it 2 months ago, I hadn't done it since the 90s, and a couple of dextrose, it's a big difference. Let me tell you the difference for me. because of my work schedule and the kids' school schedule and camp, I'm on the treadmill like 5 in the morning because I can't sleep. So I'm on the treadmill. I'm just taking advantage of it. By the time the kids are out of the house, it's 8 o'clock. Then I'm in the gym. So I already got a little depleted doing all that cardio. So my workouts are still adequate, but they probably could be better. There's days when I don't do the cardio and I go right to the gym and I get a better workout. When I do the TKD, even after I do the cardio, it's like I didn't even do the cardio. I have full energy. So it's like that cardio is negated and I'm fully ready to go in the gym. So it does something. I noticed the difference. It felt like I didn't even do cardio that morning. I got right up and hit the gym. And it didn't, we're talking 12 grams of carbs, you know? So if you're having better performance in the gym and better lifts, that should equate at some point to some muscle gain. So that's why you don't have to go crazy and go with the TKD carb ups. You know, I get people asking me all the time, and I would say 90% of the time I talk people out of it because I just know what they're going to do. It's human nature. You're going to screw these things up because the second you put that food in your mouth, you want to eat more and more, and there's a certain limit how much you can eat. People are always screwing it up. Oh, I had a candy bar. Oh, I had this. Oh, I went my cravings. That's why it's not a safe environment, these carbs, for most people. Most people came to the ketogenic lifestyle to avoid those things. But they do some very interesting things in the gym, very interesting things with really helping you put on the muscle, as long as everything else is there. If you're not eating right, you're not putting on muscle. I don't care how many carbs you have. Adequate protein, adequate stimulus, adequate rest. And limit your fasting window, I promise. If you want to gain, if that's your main goal, I'm sorry, make it a longer eating window. If you're just looking to maintain, I don't care if you eat once a day. You know, I know you're at the point where you're not eating more than a couple times a day, right?
Yeah, I usually eat once or twice a day.
Yeah.
To these 2 meals. It kind of along the lines of what you were talking about. This is a question that keeps coming up. Like, should I do CKD? You know, is it for me? Who is it for? And I think to your point, I mean, look, you can lose weight and probably put on muscle with pretty much any diet, low carb, low fat, carb cycling, all those things. It's about what's optimal. And even Lyle had commented on a thread at one point saying keto was building muscle suboptimally. So it's not that you can't, but you also have to gauge your other goals. If you're a large person and you still have a lot of fat to lose and you're not very carb tolerant, then CKD is probably not for you. If you have control issues or self-control issues and self-discipline issues, CKD is probably not for you because like Mike was saying, it's not hard, it's not easy to do because you're picking very low fat, high carb foods. So they're not the combination of fat and sugar that you're used to, like in donuts and stuff. You know, we're eating angel food cake. It's kind of like a PSMF. You know, in a PSMF, you're not eating like a typical meal because it's protein heavy. So with this, you're kind of doing the same thing you do with PSMF. You end up making a bunch of concoctions. That's why you see Mike with the cereal and just a bunch of weird things just thrown together because that's how you have to do it. But then afterwards, you have to be able to turn that off. You have to be able to turn that off and resume eating keto, eating towards your goals. So it's not easy to flip that switch. And if you can't do it, it's not for you. And that's why Lyle really says you should be at, I think he says 15% for men. You know, probably 20% probably be okay. But you want to be a leaner individual, somebody who is more carb tolerant so you can benefit from it. For me, I put on a lot of size this last year. Like it's just visibly noticeable by even my family and friends. And no, there's no steroids or anything involved, but I've done a lot of training volume and I did a lot of carb cycling. And to your point, some of those, when I would do a carb cycle, it absolutely reset my hormones 100%. It was like, it's just kind of like a bounce back. Especially if you're eating at a deficit. So I've learned to structure it where, and I do this with people I work with too, where they can still be in a deficit at the end of the week, even with that carb up incorporated in there. So it's not something that's easy to do. And so kind of to what your point was, not everybody should do it, but it does help you get those carbs in on a weekly basis. For me, I think I was doing it. In the winter, I was doing it more like twice a week, like a Wednesday, Sunday. But when we were training for Trench or Treat, I pretty much dropped it because I wasn't focused on building muscle. I was focused on fat loss, which you can still do CKD for fat loss, but you know, we went PSMF. We were going really, really hard. So, you know, you're going in for it. So anyways, that's just my thoughts about as far as who should do it, kind of what you were talking about.
Yeah. No, I agree. And the other thing is, if another type of person who should not be doing it, if you are lackadaisical in the gym, you're not
Yeah.
able to do this. Requires a ridiculous amount of effort in the gym, post-carb up and pre-carb up. The depletion workout is just asinine. It's asinine. You know, when I'm done with it, if I don't feel like I'm ready to throw up, I didn't do it right. And I always feel like I'm going to throw up when I'm done. It's just, it's balls to the wall. The way I do it, so basically you have 6 body parts: chest, shoulders, back, triceps, biceps, legs. So it's 6 body parts. And I like to pick 2 exercises for each body parts. I like to do 5 sets, 25 reps. It's a lot. You know, you take a rate that you're going to fail at about 25 reps. It's painful. You're sweating. You're lightheaded. You feel hypoglycemic. You know, you think you're fat adapted. Oh, I never get hypo. Oh, you're going to get hypo. I don't care how long you've been keto. You do this right, you're going to crash and you're going to want to vomit. But that means you're doing it good. It's like you're taking a sponge and drawing it out. So when we carb up, we soak it up with perfection. And once you're done, then the carb up immediately starts. Post carb up there's more effort involved. You know, years ago we would get our ass on the treadmill and go nuts, try to like get back into ketosis, or we go back to the gym 2 days later to deplete glycogen all over again, such that we're ready to go on Friday. With fasting, it's changed everything for me. You know, I don't care. I don't even work out for 2 days after the carb up. I don't care about it. I'm not worried about it. You know, the next day it's a long fast, which would be Saturday, and then Sunday again I'm not in the gym, and by Monday, you know, I'm back in the gym, a couple of workouts there. By Friday, full body all over again.
And for people who can't fast like you, I have a lot of people I work with, they're just not as strong to fast the long periods you do. Sometimes you'll do 24, 48 hours. So what I have them do instead is PSMF. They'll do PSMF the day before, PSMF the day after.
Yeah, so what I would do back in the 90s, we would do PSMF. That if my weight wasn't where it needed to be and my body fat, if I felt I wasn't as lean as I needed to be prior to the carb up, on Thursday I would do a PSMF. And that's when I would get my highest ketone readings. And then when I woke up Friday, everything was perfect. So Thursday we would do a PSMF just to polish off that last pound or whatever. Wake up Friday, be on point, and we earned it, and we did it. If we didn't, then we screwed up. But yeah, after carving up, definitely go PSMF the next day, just to kind of like do a little damage control, get rid of a lot of that water. I don't like going right back into high fat all over again once you have all that shit carbs in your system. It doesn't feel right for me. I don't function right. Go right back into low fat. In fact, years ago when people said, I want to come off keto, how do I come off without blowing up? I would have them go straight from, you know, high fat, low, you know, moderate protein right into PSMF for a week. They would go PSMF after they're coming off their diet and lose another 3 pounds. It was ingenious. How do you come off a diet and lose more weight? That's what we would do. So that's how we would end their keto experience. We'd do a week of PSMF, then slowly add back in the carbs, and then slowly add back in the fat. So yeah, post carb up, if you can handle a 24-hour fast, believe me, you'll love the results in the mirror. If you can't, just do a PSMF. For me personally, it's easier for me not to eat than to eat those boring ass meals, unless I'm going to make protein pancakes every day. It's disgusting at this point. I can't handle it no more. So I'd rather just not eat than have these small little 300 calorie meals. It's just a tease. I find it harder to eat less meals or less calorie dense meals than it is not to eat at all. I just won't eat. So I don't have a problem going at least 24 hours. But again, if the goal is putting on muscle, don't go crazy with the fasting, you know. There is a fasting group, so that's the one thing. Look, you're not going to lose muscle in any of these protocols. Trust me. I don't care if you work out at 6 a.m. and you don't eat till 6 p.m. You're not going to lose any muscle. Believe me. But you're not going to be putting on muscle either. But a lot of people want to put on the muscle, and first and foremost, get your ass in the gym the right way. Believe me, 90% of you guys are not working out the right way. I take pictures of my shirt when I'm done working out. It's drenched. And that's not from cardio. That's from working out. It shouldn't be a real fun experience. It should be a rewarding experience in the gym, but it should suck. You know, sometimes I don't even want to do the next set. I'm like, ugh, but you have to. Like I said, adequate protein. But going with the weekly carb ups, you have to decide for you if you're ready for that. If you're pretty lean and you think you need a change, if you want to just dabble and, you know what, maybe I can handle it. Let's see what happens. A lot of people say, you know what, it's not for me. I went a little overboard. But I get a lot of people that say, holy crap, this is a game changer. I want to do this. I can't promise you you're going to get a huge difference in the gym. When I was doing CKD in the 90s, I was never really fat adapted. I mean, I literally started a ketogenic diet, and 5 days later, I was already carbing up. It really wasn't the rate to do it. We didn't know what keto adaptation was back then. It was never, ever spoken of. We didn't know it existed. So what we did was 5 days of keto, and already we're carbing up. So, yeah, we noticed a huge difference because we were just experiencing the crash of having no carbs. We gave ourselves tons of carbs. Oh, man, the workouts were great for 3-4 days. Now when I do it, I notice almost no difference in the gym because my sodium pre-workout cocktail is the same effect that carbs do, okay? Yeah, you're going to get a little more bloat, a little more water, and a little more vascularity. But I promise you, if you're legitimately keto and strict keto for a long time and you start doing these carb ups, you're not going to be night and day difference in the gym. A little visual difference. But you're not doing this for the gym performance. It's just one small aspect of what's going to happen. If it makes you stronger to lift more, then great. But I would say start with the TKD. If you think you're doing well and you're handling it well, give that 6 to 8 weeks. And if you want to dabble with the Fruity Pebbles, then go for it, you know. But again, know your background. You know, I come from a binge eating background, and I still have to be careful with it. I've seen people do it, and they lost their shit, and they said, you know what, I'm glad I did it, because I never want to do it again, and I'm never going to ask, should I do it? So that's another learning method. You know, it's a learning method. People always, oh, should I do a carb up? Should I do a cheat day? Go ahead and do it. See how you feel. Most of the time, you're going to hate it. Holy crap, I hate this. I can't wait. Like even me, when I'm done carbing up, I can't wait to have an omelet and bacon and just no carb. I can't wait to get back to my regular meals. I don't look forward. I mean, look, it's fun to have Fruity Pebbles. Don't get me wrong, but I don't look forward to that feeling. I don't like it. I still do it because that's just the setup I've designed for myself. But I just don't like it. I like going keto. It just makes me feel so much better. So if you like how you feel all the time, stick with the foods you're eating. You know, jack up the protein. You know, get your ass an appropriate workout. Stop dicking around. Believe me, you guys are dicking around. I see them in the gym. I see these people. You know, they don't break a sweat. They're lifting weights, but they're not working the muscle. These guys are benching like 315, and they're bouncing. I mean, not really. I don't bench much at all, but I'm working my muscle. You got to work the muscle. Don't lift the weight. That's two different things. Anybody can lift a weight. I can throw it up in the air. That's not lifting. Work the muscle. The 5x5 program, that's one of the most common things people do. I'm all about progressive overload. Everything I do is 8 to 12 reps, failure, 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 failure. As heavy as I can go with this proper form. No cheating, no nonsense. And I find that's the best for me. But again, I don't think anyone needs carb ups. I find it's always kept me at least in hormonal balance in my own experience. There's only really one time in my life that I stalled for a considerable amount of time, and that was only a couple of months ago. It was very odd to me. I was like, this is strange. I don't stall. I don't ever stall. This is obscene. So I started analyzing, what am I doing? I didn't carb up for 6 weeks. Now, you could say, well, that's just a coincidence. Maybe. I don't know. But the first time in my life I had a real stall was a couple of months ago, and I hadn't carved up in 6 weeks. That's when I went carnivore, and that dropped all the problems for me because, you know, it might have been adaptive thermogenesis. I don't know if that's something, but that changed everything. In fact, I like doing carnivore for dropping weight fast better than PSMF. The food's more enjoyable, you know, much more palatable. So that's the other thing. If you guys really want to see something work on paper and in practice, play around with carnivore. It's fun as hell. I mean, I'm talking meat and water, meat and water. Give it a couple of weeks. Watch what happens. If you think PSMF drops weight off you, watch what this does. Now, it's not going to all be fat. Most of it's water from inflammation and like dairy sensitivity. I guess I have dairy sensitivities because I eat a lot of nuts, a lot of peanut butter, nut butters, and cheese. I eliminate that. I mean, I was literally in a deficit for months. And I did carnivore for 7 days. I dropped 8 pounds. 8 pounds in 7 days. And I was already in a deficit. That's obscene. So that's above and beyond what we're talking about here. That's just something I think you guys might get a kick out of. Try it. Everyone who's tried carnivore has told me it's like nothing they've ever experienced. It's the coolest thing. It's cool as hell. it's just fun to watch the weight just melt off you. It just blows my mind. Now, for me, in the gym, I don't really like carnivore too much. It completely eliminates all my inflammation, which is good, don't get me wrong, but I don't have anything left in me. I'm so flat and depleted. The inflammation's gone. You need some inflammation. It's good for muscle growth. So once I incorporate a little more dairy and cheese, I feel a little better in the gym. It's almost like a mock carb up. So that's why I like to do carnivore during the week. And on the weekend, I just go back to keto. It feels like you're cheating, but you're not. Mentally, it keeps you on point. And all I'm doing is adding back in some cheese and some nut butters. And my gym performance is much different on Monday. I have a better pump. So I love carnivore. I've never felt so good in my life, but I miss some of the bloat, some of the water retention, some of that glycogen that I got when I had a little dairy and a little inflammation. It's just not there with carnivore, but it's a phenomenal feeling. I mean, I know you were playing with it too, and you were dropping weight. I know a bunch of other guys were doing it too. Marco was liking it. Mike Juristi, he was liking it. It's one of those things where you didn't even expect it to do what it was going to do. I had no idea I was going to drop 8 pounds, but everyone has the same experience. They drop weight at a rapid rate. I mean, did you drop much when you did it? I mean, yeah, I know you were doing it for a little bit.
Yeah, I was more carnivore-ish.
Yeah.
But I was doing OMED too, so I would have
Yeah.
like 1.5 pound steak with some eggs or something. I wanted to touch on something you had said a minute ago.
Yeah.
When you're talking about how the carb ups made you feel, and this kind of goes back to who should do it. And you talked about how long you had been keto and so forth. It's funny because they say that CKD is the worst, and that the research isn't positive for it. But as we brought up before, I'd like to see somebody tested who has been keto adapted for several years. And what I've noticed I didn't start CKD till 3 years, almost 3 years into a keto diet. And now for me, it's about the metabolic flexibility. I can go to a retirement party and have a piece of cake or do a family celebration and try to structure it into my carb load if I can. Or if I'm just doing a carb load, I can go seamlessly between the two and I don't feel a difference. When you first start keto, you go out to eat and somebody gives you a real Coke instead of a Diet Coke, you feel it the next day. You know you've been booted out. But 3 years into it, I can move seamlessly between the two. So that metabolic flexibility to me is what's great. The thing that I don't feel good about, which is kind of what I think we experienced a little bit, was just the carb knockout. You're still sensitive, so those carbs absolutely. If I have a big carb meal, I just time it because I know I'm going to be out. They're going to knock me out. But as far as feeling sick or anything like that, the keto flu, I'm in and out of the carb load seamlessly, and I think the fasting and the PSMF helps that, like you said, separating the fat from the carbs, because we know fat and carbs is a recipe for fat gain. So separating that a little bit helps. But I found that carnivore was great for just keeping it clean, kind of almost like cleaning your palate. I went to when you go to Texas to Brazil, they were bringing us those plantains. They wanted us to eat the plantains because it cleanses your palate. It's almost like carnivore does that for me. And I think you were saying it too, like just eliminated all cravings of things. So they're all different protocols that can be beneficial. But I think for CKD, the idea is that you can minimally interrupt ketosis and just get that surge of calories in without impeding fat loss. The way Lyle has it set up is you go into it, you're out of it, and you've got that infusion of calories and carbs. And like you said, you're back in ketosis the next morning. So it's a very minimal interruption, but you've got this hormonal boost, you've got this energy boost, and obviously it works. It's like you showed that picture where I had done keto and it was all about fat loss, which is when you have a lot of weight to lose, that's probably, you're focused on recomp. But I met Tony Freeman, who's one of the Mr. Olympia competitors. He works out here in town. Yeah, X-Man. And I met him at the gym. I was like, what advice do you have? And I was big as a horse. I was just big as a whale, man. And he's like, take care of your cardio first. What he was telling me was, get this body fat off, dude. Like, get your body fat off and then focus on that. So obviously with keto, I did that. I got very, very lean, but over this last year, I've been using your protocol where drop the fat, raise the carbs, and it's been amazing. It's been amazing.
Yeah.
And that and training volume. The other thing is training volume. I'm doing like 6 days a week, and I'm following what the research says. I'm hitting each body part twice a week. And it's just done wonders for me. So anyways, what else were we gonna cover too about CKD that had been coming up that we wanted to make sure we talked about? I'm trying to go back through the questions to see. A lot of the questions are just like, should I do it?
Yeah.
Who should do it? Some of
Look,
the
you need to have a relatively decent body fat level. You're not going to be shredded, but if you're still on a fat loss journey, and you don't want to interrupt that, because you're going to interrupt the scale weight of that portion once you see the water fluctuations. I'm not saying you're going to gain fat.
It can be done. You had your buddy who you put on the CKD, and he was huge, and he lost a lot of weight. So
well, the first guy I ever did it, I got him down 75 pounds. The other guy 150 pounds. So they promised me they would follow it to the T. They just knew mentally that they weren't going to be able to be strict, and they wanted to have a cheat. So I said, listen, let's not have a cheat. Let me show you this way. You're going to get maybe some pasta or something like that. If you promise me you'll keep it low fat. So I taught them what it was, and they were like, all right, that's cool. So they lost a shit ton of weight. And my one guy, he has so much muscle on him now. You know, it's wild. I'm not saying he gained the muscle because of what he did, but he retained more muscle than anybody I've ever done the diet with. And because he did my protocol to the T, he was carving the hell up, sending me pictures every Saturday night, showing me all his food. And every once in a while, he's like, I screwed up, and he had one peanut butter cup. If that's all you had, God bless, you know, but sometimes it's a hell of a lot more than one peanut butter cup. But that's the worst he ever did. He had one peanut butter cup on the carb up. I'm okay with that. You know, you can have 30, 40 grams of fat. If that's going to be your fat, then fine. I like to go even lower than that if I can get away with it, but it's not easy. It's not easy finding the foods, and it's not easy up here, because once you start eating that shit, you want to eat everything. You see ice cream. Oh, I want to eat that. Oh, you know what? Let me have some of this. And it changes your mind. You start making up these reasons why you should eat that shit right there. That doesn't belong in the diet, and you do it. It's a stick twisted event, so you got to be careful. But yeah, I mean, I have most people that, you know, if they only have like another 20 pounds to lose, all right, they can probably dabble. Only if they're at the point where they feel like they're losing muscle, or they really want to put on muscle while they can recomp at the same time. You know, the scale weight will be slower. Whenever I did my CKD, it was a pound a week. And people say a pound a week. Most people lose 5 pounds a week on keto. Yeah, but when you're up and down with water weight all the time, and if you're putting on a little muscle each week, even if it's like an eighth of a pound, your scale weight doesn't go down much. My scale weight would go down about a pound, but my body looked like 10 times that better. You know, so you can't really use the scale anymore when you do this. Don't use the scale. You're going to put on 5, 6, 7, 8 pounds the next day. It's not worth it. Just go by the mirror. I promise you, if you do it right by Friday, you look better than you did the prior Friday. And that's always the goal.
And, you know, I have a couple guys on it right now. One is at 11% body fat. One is at 20%. But the reason I put the guy who's 20%, he's a taller guy. He's got a pretty good physique, and I'm very confident in his ability that he's going to be able to stick to it. But you had mentioned, what I was going to say is in there we have some little calorie cycling magic where we're doing something Monday through Thursday. We do something different on on Friday and Sunday, and then of course our magical carb up on Sunday. But all those calories still work towards your goals. There was Mark Delivier asked about fructose talk. How hard should we try to avoid that? And then I wanted to remind you, you had posted that talking about your secret that kept you on track for many years.
Oh, yeah. So you're talking about what I did to break through my stall years ago? Was that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
So we're going back to the 90s. What's that? You
had said something about reminding you, something in the comments.
Okay, so first I want to answer Mark. I'm a anti-fructose zealot. Even though I'm probably too hard on fructose, I don't want nothing to do with it. Yeah. But on the carb up, you really don't want anything to do with it. Peripherally fills liver glycogen. Doesn't belong in the carb up. It doesn't belong. So avoid it as much as you can. You're going to get it in some of the cereals. It is what it is. But if you could avoid it, avoid it. It's not really part of what you need to be doing on the carb up. So just kind of avoid it. I've been very hard on fructose my whole life, probably too hard, but just avoid it on the carb up. As far as what I did,
I want to say something
you know,
to
when I
that real
lost,
quick.
was that?
I want to say something to that real quick.
Yeah.
Um, you saw that I had posted on a carb up a week ago. Matter of fact, I filmed a full day of CKD dirty version, and then this Saturday I'm going to film the clean version with the like what we did with the Asian and the rice and everything. But anyways, I made a concoction that was like a Kodiak pancake thing, and I did have a little bit of cherry pie filling on there.
Yeah, yeah.
But the fruit content on there was very, very minimal. So I just want to kind of clarify that yeah, I posted that and there was some fructose, but like Mike said, you're probably going to get some places. That one was a little more intentional, but ideally avoid it because it's just going to replenish liver glycogen. We want that super compensation to happen. So avoid it as much as you can.
And it's going to make you get harder to get back into ketosis. Look, you have to understand in the 90s, you know, even Lyle, we only thought ketosis mattered. We weren't really we weren't smart enough. The research wasn't there. We always thought ketosis was magical. You had to get back into ketosis as fast as possible. I mean, you really don't anymore, but in this protocol, you really want to deplete glycogen as fast as possible. And with regards to liver glycogen, if you're eating fructose, it's going to take you a while to get back into ketosis. So if you want to feel good during the week, if you want the natural appetite suppressant effects of keto, avoid fructose at all costs. So yeah, so getting back to what I did. So, you know, I had lost over 80 pounds years ago and I was very skinny and I lost a lot of muscle because I did so much deficit, so much diet. I stopped working out because I didn't have time. I just did a lot of cardio. You know, I was almost 30 pounds lighter than I am now. It was really gross. And it was a true stall. I just couldn't lose anymore. I was almost like skinny fat, almost. I wasn't fat really at all, but I was 158 pounds. It was disgusting. So I remember bullshit with Lyle, and I'm like, you know, this is killing me. There's only so much cardio I can do. And we both talked it over, and he agreed. And the best thing I ever did to break through a stall and to be able to gain muscle and to lose fat again, I had to get fat again. That's right. I had to get fat. I had to stop worrying about dieting. I had to eat above maintenance, get off the crazy cardio, get off the crazy low fat, and understand you're going to put on 10 to 12 pounds. And I was ready for it. I accepted it. I did that. I gained about 10, 12 pounds. A couple of months later, my physique changed for the better. Everything was different. My hormones fixed. Everything was better. But I had to get fat again because people are doing more cardio. They're cutting calories even more because they can't lose that last pound. Stop looking for that last pound. Come off the diet. None of that reverse shit. Just come off the diet. Stop worrying about it. You're stressing yourself out. The cortisol is not going to allow you to drop any more scale weight. You know, so I got fat on purpose, 10 pounds, no big deal. And all of a sudden, everything changed. My gym performance was great. My mental state of being was great. And eventually, I lost it again. And I started putting on muscle. So don't be afraid to stop dieting. It's like taking one step back to move 2 steps forward. I promise you, in the long run, it's going to help you. You know, don't keep cutting calories to the point where you're eating nothing forever. It's not gonna turn out well. That's almost where I was. So don't do that.
Yeah, I think ideally, if people did it in an ideal world, they do bulk and cut cycles. You know, bulk for a period of time and then cut, but don't go crazy like I have in the past. You know, once you establish a ceiling for yourself, Lyle says a cycle between like 8 to 10% to 15%, and then end the bulk. I'm fine with 20%, but that's like my ceiling.
Yeah.
But carb cycling allows you to minimize that fat gain while still getting some of the same benefits. So that's why I like it, because you can kind of do it. You know, we did it at least till about 3 months up till trench or treat. You know.
Yeah. I mean, you know, there's other ways of doing that, not necessarily on a keto diet. When I wasn't keto for a while, I would have that legit cheat meal once a week. I don't agree that a cheat meal is going to work the same way on keto. It just doesn't do it. When you're in that metabolic state of ketosis and having a shitty meal, it doesn't turn out the same way when you're someone that's on very, very low fat and moderate carbs and high protein. I would literally have a large pizza or maybe even a small pie every Saturday night, you know, and man, it just kept me going, you know, but I would never do that on keto. I would never do that. So our version of carb cycling for the typical low-fat dieter is the CKD. It does have other benefits, and you know, you can read about what it potentially is doing to you hormonally. And not everyone gets any negative hormonal effects, but a lot of people do suffer from elevated cortisol, issues with thyroid, you know, leptin. There are issues there, you know, and I don't feel even the longest term keto dieters are always keto. I'm sure there's times where they just get a mental breakdown. Maybe a couple of days they say, frig it, I don't give a shit. And that's fine. You know, hormonally, it's okay to have a little break. You know, I don't feel we're meant to be in keto 24/7, 365. I really don't. Even if it's a 2-day break, you're on vacation, big freaking deal. And you're probably still going to be showing ketones with the level of adaptation most of us have. I find it just keeps me going constantly. I told you, the one real stall I had was only a few months ago. I wasn't doing my scheduled carb ups, and I was doing way too much cardio, you know, and the deficit was too strong, and I didn't have those carbs anymore to kind of fix up that weekly mess I was constantly doing to my hormones. So, you know, that's my opinion. I feel it helps me hormonally. I feel it helps me mentally with knowing I get that meal if I'm strict. And like I said, when I'm not strict, I went 4 months without a legit carb up because I had a big snack accident. But I utilized that. I said, all right, that's my carb up. I have to accept what I did wrong. I ate too much fat, too much garbage, too much crap. And I'm now going to go in the gym and at least use it. So, I mean, I was getting pretty big. I was getting lean at the same time, not as lean as I should be. So, you know, you can have a lot of snack accidents and call it a CKD. It's really not. But you're not allowed to have your carb ups if you're doing that. You can't. You're going to get fat because you're already going to get fat from that shit cheat meal. And then you're going to throw in 500 grams of carbs on Friday and think that's not going to cause problems. So you have to have the discipline where you say, well, you know what? I didn't earn my carbs. I mean, when I have a cheat day that's unplanned, I feel like crap for 3 days. I don't even think about carbing up. I would never do such a thing. You know, so just be prepared. Dabble with the high protein, dabble with the TKD. And if you're at the point where you say, you know what, I think I might be able to handle this, then go for it. Understand, I want you to look things up. Look up carb ups on a CKD, training on a CKD, and the depletion workout on a CKD. You must know all these things. Without doing that, you're just pissing in the wind. It's really not going to do what you want it to do. You know, and look, it's fun. I enjoy it. I do stress about the days that come with the carbs. I'd rather just have one quick carb meal and stop because I don't feel bad. So again, you have to decide for yourself if you want to do it. I never push people to do it. I talk most people out of it because I know what's going to happen, and I don't want to hear the bitching and moaning because that's all I hear. But I have some friends that will not take no for an answer, and I've helped them, and they've lost a shit ton of weight, and they're the most physically muscular, attractive of all my friends that do my diet, the ones that do the CKD. All my other clients and friends that do strict keto, they're in great shape, but there's a big difference. Night and day. It's like your pitcher, your SKD, it's like that. It's a big difference. You know, my CKD guys and my strict keto, they're all in great shape, but the CKD guys are noticeably bigger, more muscle, and just as lean. For whatever it is. Is it the carbs? You decide for yourself. It's something, right? And the only different thing in the process are the carbs. Do you need carbs to grow? No, but it's a whole process. It's a whole compilation of things that are happening when you're using those carbs. You know, you're getting better workouts. You're potentially not impairing your hormones, IGF, insulin, all that fun stuff. So as long as everything else is in check, adequate protein, adequate stimulus, working out like a beast, and adequate rest, and not fasting too long, you're going to do real well on a CKD. And you can do real well not on a CKD. Again, if muscle gain is a goal, I need you eating a couple of times a day. I do. And I need you to eat a decent amount of protein a few times a day. Maybe don't fast more than 16 hours. But if you just want to keep muscle like I do, I don't care if you eat once a day. It doesn't matter to me. Once, twice, get in your protein. Don't bitch and moan, oh, it's so hard to get my protein. I eat 180 grams in one sitting of protein sludge. I go way over my macros. It can be done. So I don't want to hear you can't get your protein in. It's obscenely easy.
A couple things, and we have a good question that came up. First of all, Layla says, my carb up always turns into a snack accident. And that's probably why you shouldn't do CKD. If they all turn into snack accidents, you're just not mentally ready for that protocol. I want to mention something about TKD. In my opinion, I did TKD. It worked for a little while until it didn't. And now TKD is just a waste of time for me. I can get the
Right.
same thing from sodium and caffeine, so I really don't need anything. I've found that for me, it's either SKD or it's CKD, TKD, in my opinion. And maybe it's just the way I was doing it, but it's just a waste of time for me because eventually the effect wasn't there.
Yeah.
Somebody asked supplements while CKD. I think that's a good question. I don't think we talked about that.
You know, honestly, the main supplement that we always did in the 90s was any sort of glucose disposal agent. You know, alpha lipoic acid, berberine, vanadyl sulfate, banaba extract, I can't even pronounce it, bitter melon. I mean, any sort of glucose disposal agent was the thing that we always did. We did it for two reasons. We would do it on the carb up to hopefully, you know, shuttle those carbs into the muscles and not necessarily fat to increase our insulin sensitivity, but also to speed up re-entry into ketosis. So we would take it during the carb up with every meal. And then for the next 2 days after the carb up, we would have them with every meal. And then usually by the time ketosis was reestablished, we didn't bother with them anymore. We didn't have access to much back in the day. In the 90s, I used to buy bulk alpha lipoic acid from Germany. And all the keto guys in my group back then on the email list, I would literally part out 100 grams and we would use that. We were using Citramax, hydrocitric acid, like a carb blocker. Vanadyl sulfate was around, and chromium. There wasn't a lot of other things. We would all buy from this company called Beyond a Century. Beyond a Century sold herbs and bulk nutrients. So now these GDAs, glucose disposal agents, they're pretty impressive, pretty potent. You know, I'm working on my own that should be around in a couple of months. But even to this day,
is coming out with one.
Yeah, at some point, I mean, it's an expensive endeavor because I want it stacked with a lot of ingredients because I just don't want to have something missing. But you know, even my old habits never die. I always take a glucose disposal agent when I'm carbing up. I mean, I was giving you pills at the Chinese restaurant. It's just how I am. I can't really tell you that it's working, but I know on paper it's working. You know, like I know vitamin C is good for you, but I can't show you what it's done for me when I take it. But you know it's good. But I mean, when I've tested my blood sugar, man, it drops my blood sugar drastically. So I know these things work. So that's probably the only thing. Creatine, load up on some creatine during the carb up. If you don't mind the extra bloat, you're gonna love that effect over the gym next couple of days. But other than that, you know, there's really no supplements needed. It's a very simple protocol. The supplements are your carbs. That's really it.
Sometimes we'll use the Keto Sports.
So once in a while I'll take, once in a while, if I'm like, I don't ever get hungry. If I want to eat, it's more of a mental thing. Like I'm thinking about eating, but I never have a true hunger anymore, especially the longer I fast. But when I introduce carbs, I wake up the next morning with hunger I haven't felt since I was a kid. So once in a while, if I can't fight it, I'll drink some ketones. Keto Force is the new one that Pat has. It's potent as hell. Those do help me. Steve, yeah, protein shakes. Matter of fact, the protein shakes in the cereal. That's what I do. So yeah, I'll take the ketones the next day to kind of blunt my appetite. I find that helps. It's not required. If you can man up and hack it, don't take them. Just try to naturally get back into ketosis. I just like what the BHB does for my appetite. It blunts it completely because you wake up in such a hunger. Oh my God. So I would definitely look into that.
Leonard had a good point because somebody else had asked, Steve had asked about the protein shakes, and I was going to say you almost need it because when you're eating these high carb, low fat foods, again, you're dealing with a lot of concoctions. Leonard was saying, touch on the protein amount on CKD. For me, my protein stays the same. I don't know about Mike, but my protein stays the same on a CKD. The difficulty is getting it in because I'm making these other concoctions. Like last Saturday, I had this cobbler type thing I made. I had cereal, a couple other things. It was hard to get the protein in. So what I did is I took a giant bowl of pudding and I have some unflavored protein powder specifically for things like this. And I added like 3 scoops of protein powder and mixed it in there. It was still just like pudding, but I got my protein in. So I'm just saying that you almost need shakes or something sometimes to get in, unless you're going to have like a chicken breast with your cereal, which is probably not going to happen.
So exactly. When I have protein on CKD, It's no whole foods because it's disgusting. I'm not going to eat chicken. I'm not going to eat turkey when I'm having all that sugar.
Exactly.
The bulk of it just doesn't work as a bulking thing. As far as the amount of protein, I probably come in at about 70% of my normal because to me, I'm not worried about it. I'll probably have 150 grams, maybe, because it's not the focus. Maybe sometimes I go way too high if I put too many scoops. I mean, my whole concoction, I got a big bowl. I pour in various cereals, a little milk skim, sometimes just water, a bunch of scoops of whey and Cajun, and sometimes I even put like half a container of Halo Top. It's a whole concoction of shit. So all my protein's in there. So yeah, it really helps because trust me, you're not going to want to be eating chicken, tuna. Forget about it. You're going to throw up while you're having all these sugar sweet things. It just doesn't go. The bulk doesn't work. The taste is disgusting. Mentally, your taste buds change in 5 seconds. No longer does a chicken breast sound appealing anymore, or even a piece of bacon. It's gone for those couple of hours. Yeah. So the protein powder tastes like a carb because it's sweetened. So it works well with what we do. Let me see what Layla's saying. Couldn't you train yourself to have a clean carb up the same way you would train yourself to eat keto? I'm not sure what you're saying. Could you train yourself to have a clean carb up? So you mean like a sweet potato, pasta? I mean, there's no such really thing as clean carbs. At the end of the day, they all convert to glucose in your body. There's just glycemic indexes and refined carbs. The shit I mean is very refined.
It's like you're asking, can you eat clean or not clean? I mean, your carb up food choices are yours. You just got to meet the macros. Again, one of my guys who's doing CKD he's super whole food type guy. So he gets his carbs from a lot of very high carb veggies or other sources. He doesn't really do the cereal type things. So, you know, that your sweet potatoes, your other items, he'll go more towards that. So it's really up to you. You know, when we did it last month, the first thing we went for was Chinese, you know, and we just loaded up on rice with some chicken to get the protein in. And we didn't care about the other stuff on the chicken, the breading, because we're carbing up. So it's all about food choices. But yeah, of course you can do it. You can do it either way. But yeah, getting protein in can be a challenge. And so like Mike says, I don't always reach it, but I know that through the week, I typically hit my protein or maybe a little extra. So if I'm a little shy on that one day, you know, it's not like I'm going to wither away. I mean, I'm doing a carb up.
And understand the reason why we choose the foods we choose. You know, calling it clean or not clean. So you're telling me a sweet potato is cleaner than Fruity Pebbles. When it's in the body, it's in the body. Believe me, getting it there is one thing. But we do it because the sweet potato, pasta, all that stuff, there's a lot of water and bloat that comes with that. And it's very hard to eat all that food. You're going to need to eat 30 of those potatoes versus 10 bowls of cereal, which is nothing. 10 bowls of cereal, 10 servings, which is 250 grams, which is just the first shot. We're talking this much cereal. Good luck getting that out of this many potatoes. Good luck. It's not going to work. It has nothing to do with us doing dirty. It's more convenient. It just works better. A whole box of cereal, the whole container, the whole box, you can easily down. That's 300 grams of carbs. It's like 15 grams of fat. You can't do that with potatoes. It's just, you're going to feel like shit. So you'll never get the required carbs. Could you attempt it? Sure. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be fun. I used to do it. And I hated it. I could never get the carbs in. I was bloated. There was too much food in my stomach. Boil pasta, what happens? It expands. Good luck. Watch what happens in your stomach. So the cereal, somewhat dry, is ingenious with getting a lot of carbs and calories with not a lot of bulk. It's literally pulverized in your mouth by the time it gets into your belly. I could never do that with potatoes. I throw in a bagel from time to time because I really like them, but not a lot. And maybe I'll put a little jelly on it or something like that. Or spray butter, just because I like a little butter, some spray. But that's the extent to a real looking food would be a bagel. Everything else is cereal. Sometimes I'll even put in a protein bar. I'll have a little Halo Top. Oatmeal and oats and cream of wheat are like gold standard, you know, but it's not so much that it's dirty. It's just more practical. That's why we do it.
Oh, Grace had a great question, and I have it actually pulled up on one of these articles on the Think Muscle that we've been tossing around a lot lately. She asked how many grams of carbs for the carb up. So Lyle's guidelines are 8 to 10 grams of carbohydrates per kilogram of lean body mass during the initial 24 hours. That makes up 70% of the total calories. During the second 24 hours, approximately 5 grams per kilogram should be consumed, which is approximately 60%. So as an example, if you have 140 pounds of lean mass, the first 24 hours, if you're doing a 2-day, you do 630 grams, and then the second day you would do 310 grams. Mike and I don't do 2 days, we just do 1 day. So, but similar, you know, my lean mass is around 145-ish, probably 150. So I did around 650, so I'm really close to that. I'm really close to what Lyle's thinking. Any thoughts on that? I know you
definitely want to expand on that. You have to understand, when Lyle talks these numbers, this is research done in athletes with the maximal glycogen supercompensation that they achieved. We're not looking for that. You know, I mean, there's no way in hell I'm going to consume 1,200 grams of carbs or whatever the number was. I had done that many years ago. So that's for maximal glycogen supercompensation. We're not really looking for that, okay? I usually have a general rule for women. I like them to play around with maybe 250 to 300 their first time out. It's not a lot. For men, again, you might have to do the same. Could be anywhere from 400 to 800. Wow, look at that thing in the background. Oh.
CKD
So
right there, baby. That's CKD right there.
I go maybe about 600. That's kind of where I get in. Sometimes it's a little less. My eating window with my carb ups are usually from 12 to 6. So you're talking, it's a 6-hour carb up. It's not like it used to be. So again, I don't go crazy. There's only so many grams of carbs I can consume, and it's between 2 to 225 per meal, you know. And it's usually 3 meals, but you know, honestly, I might graze. I might go to the gas station and grab a carb bar or whatever. So that's another quick one, but I always count it. So yeah, don't follow those numbers to the T. You're gonna hate the way you feel. I don't think it's needed. You know, I think that's really for athletes that don't need keto in the first place. So why are they even doing it? You know, so a couple 100 grams of carbs first time out for a female, double that for a male. Unless you're afraid, then keep it at 250. Let me tell you something, 250 is not a lot. You'll get in, you'll get out, you'll feel great. It's once you start cracking 500 where things get a little crazy and they start feeling a little weird. But 250 is nothing, especially if you do that over 2-3 meals. I mean, over 3 meals, that's a little over 80 grams of carbs. That's nothing. You'll walk away feeling great. But I don't know if that's the best thing for you. You need to get a decent amount of carbs in there. But for women, try 250, 300. Brian, we're talking about that right now. You should determine it by body weight, but it always comes out too high. So again, for women, 250, 300. For men, double that and see how you feel. It's a lot of trial and error. You have to see how you feel. You know,
that's what I was going to say next is that you start with a number and then you can tweak it just a little bit. Like last week when I hit 650, 700, I felt like it was a little too much. So my next one, I want to scale back to 500 and see how that is. And what I'm talking about is the spillover effect. And maybe you could talk about that a little bit of the next day when we're talking about waking up leaner. And do you have some spillover, which is why we limit our fluids and so forth. So you can kind of play around with it to see what is going to work good for you. But I think 650, 700 was a little too much for me. Mike has a lot more muscle mass than me, so he can get away with obviously more. So I think I need to scale mine back closer to 550. So that's what I'm going to do Saturday and see how it comes out. But maybe you can talk about spillover.
So if you do this right, now, if you have 20, 30 pounds of fat to lose, you're not necessarily going to wake up the next day feeling like a bodybuilder does when they carb up. You're not really going to notice that leanness. But when you're relatively lean like me, like Grace, like Marco, even Jeremy, you will notice a difference. If you keep it dry. Now, I started doing it dry for only one reason. I don't like the sloshiness. I don't like the bloat. I mean, literally within a few minutes of your eating, you feel it and you hear it in your belly. And it's like, oh my God. So I started keeping it dry such that where a little bit of fluids, I mean, I would eat dry cereal and I wake up in the middle of the night, my mouth was dry, my eyes were dry. And if I didn't go over maybe 500 grams of carbs and I kept it dry, I wake up the next morning vascular, leaner, and maybe only put on a pound. But that's really not the way you're supposed to do. You want to put on water weight. You want to bloat up. That's the whole point. So if you don't mind feeling like that, drink all the water you want. Take all the creatine you want. I just don't like that feeling. And I enjoy waking up the next day looking leaner. But even if you bloated, you're going to piss it away in 2 days. I promise you, it'll all go away. It's just water. It's impossible to put on 8 pounds of fat overnight. It's just not going to happen. And if you didn't eat a ton of fat and all you did was lower your fat and up your carbs, most of you guys aren't going to be drastically eating that many more calories. Like, let's say you normally eat 2,000 calories from fat and protein. You're lowering your fat, you're lowering your protein, you're upping your carbs. You're probably only going to eat another 500 or 600 or 700 calories versus your keto days. How the hell are you going to gain 8 pounds of fat overnight? It's not humanly possible. So it's all water weight. So don't freak out. You'll piss it out by Tuesday, completely piss it out. I just don't like the feel. So I keep it a little dry. But the fasting the next day, if I went overboard with the fluids, it drops all the water and I feel fine. So don't be upset if you put on 5-6 pounds of water. I actually weigh myself after the carb up. I never weigh myself any other time. I just want to know how much did I gain? Not that it matters because it's irrelevant, but I'm just curious. Mario, it's hard to say body fat, maybe 15%, give or take. I mean, you don't want to be someone that still has to lose 30, 40 pounds, even though I've had plenty of people lose 100 pounds on CKD without someone coaching you 24/7. And if you're going to do it on your own, I wouldn't want you to have any more than like 20, 25 pounds to lose at the most. Because you're not really going to see the difference in the mirror like way you want to after the carb up, and it might mentally screw with your head. But you can do it. Like I said, my buddy lost 150 pounds CKD, so it's really up to you. But I prefer people be a little leaner so they can actually enjoy what they're seeing in the mirror, and it motivates them a little more. Tiffany, the next day's fast for me is a 24-hour fast. So if my last carb meal is 6 p.m., I won't eat till the next day at 6 p.m., and it's a full keto meal. It's not an obscenely high-fat meal, but it's a very protein-dense and a good amount of fat, probably 150, 160 grams of protein, 60, 70 grams of fat, maybe a little more. It's not crazy calorically dense either. And I make up for it on Monday anyway. But it's up to you. If you don't want to fast, just do a PSMF day. A lot of protein, low fat, low carbs, and then Monday go back to keto.
Mine is PSMF-ish, and I'll do an OMAD typically the day after because honestly, your stuff from the next day, from the previous day. So I'll wait and I'll do an OMAD. It'll be PSMF-ish in that it's not 20 grams of fat, but it's not like 80 or 90 grams of fat. You know, it might be like 40 grams or something like that. So it's PSMF-ish, and I'm eating in the evening. So again, I'm just trying to give space between that carb up, and it's mostly protein. You know, Meaty Mountain, that's what we make a lot. I'll make a low-fat version of Meaty Mountain. I just can't get enough of it.
You can do, let me tell you something. Do yourself a favor. I know it sounds ridiculous, but they sell these pre-cooked bacon, chicken bacon and turkey bacon. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I think they load it up on so much sodium to preserve it that it tastes phenomenal. So when I make a PSMF Meaty Mountain, it's basically like 96% lean ground beef. I'll throw in a bunch of chunks of turkey pepperoni and turkey bacon. And believe it or not, I whip out my magical bouillon and I put a little beef bouillon in there too to salt it up. And the fat-free cheese, believe it or not, it's very palatable. But most of my Meaty Mountains are decently fat heavy. I'll do an 80-20 mixed with an 85 or 95, whatever. A lot of pepperoni, a lot of bacon. So they look obscenely high in calories and fat. They're really not. I mean, it tastes phenomenal. Yeah, so the next day, just go PSMF.
I do a very lean version. I do like 93.7 beef. I'll do turkey pepperoni, and I get a lot of flack for it, but I'll do fat-free cheese, a little bit of marinara, and it's like a pizza bowl that's very low fat, high in protein, and the calories are moderate. So you can kind of scale it up or down. I leave the bacon out, but I know Mike loves his microwave bacon. You had a ton of that when I was there.
Well, you know what it was? They were on sale for so cheap, and I'm thinking, you know what? I travel a lot. Sometimes I pick up that bacon, the bacon jerky. I'm like, why am I buying this bacon jerky for $9 when I get real bacon in a box for like $2.99? So I just stocked up, but I'm gonna keep them in my fridge. I haven't really eaten them since, but sometimes I run out of bacon, and that's my emergency stash, and I don't want to start cooking bacon. So I keep it on a backup, but I always have bacon already cooked that I make, but I keep that in a box. Sometimes I'll bring a box to my son's baseball game,
Yeah.
you know, and I'll just eat that, you know, so it's just convenience. I don't really eat it unless it's a necessity or a backup. Steve, PSMF is protein sparing modified fast, a ton of protein and very low fat, very low carb. It's the rapid fat loss handbook that Lyle McDonald wrote. It's what I call it, the nuclear warhead of dieting. If you can't lose fat on that, then you might as well just cut off a limb because there's no other way you're going to do it. It's not fun. It's where we coined the phrase "embrace the suck" because it sucks. But talking about bouillon, so any of you guys who are suffering in the gym, take a couple of grams of bouillon powder, chicken, whatever, in a hot cup of water. It's going to change your world in the gym. Yep. You know, I got all these meatheads in the gym that I help with keto, and they're always bitching and moaning, oh, I need my carbs. Oh, I can't work out. Watch this. Couple of grams. Holy shit. The next day they go, Mike, this is ridiculous. I never expected this. And they don't need their carbs, they tell me now. So a couple of grams of sodium, about a half hour before you go to the gym. Take nothing else. No pre-workout. Just watch what happens. You know, you'll be like, holy shit. It's a big difference. When I don't have my sodium, especially on PSMF, my legs shake as I'm working out in the gym, like it's bad. You know, my real first round of PSMF 2 years ago, I wasn't doing the sodium. And in the 90s, when we did PSMF, we didn't do it for more than a day or two, so we didn't need it. But a couple of grams of sodium, your whole world will change. Don't even take a pre-workout. Take it alone just so you can see it work. I guarantee you, you'll change everything in the gym for you.
Yeah, that's why
chicken stock, yeah.
That's why I say I dropped TKD. I mean, I'll have a chicken bouillon cube. I chew it. It's nasty as hell, but it gets so it. And Tiffany, I think you missed it, but we were talking about PSMF the day before and the day after. By the way, I think everybody from the Justice League is here, and you know what I'm talking about.
Here we go.
So anyways, yeah, just make sure it doesn't have MSG. Anything else? We got about 10 minutes here left. Is there anything else that we wanted to touch on? I know there's probably more we'll think of when we end.
I'm trying to
Tanning sold separately, by the way.
There you go.
Black card members only. I think we've touched on just a lot of stuff. We talked about, yeah, one whole cube. Yeah, maybe two.
Yeah, Grace, 1 cube is about 900 milligrams, give or take, of the brand. I also have the powder. So I take about 2 teaspoons, which is about 1,800 to 2,000 milligrams, in a couple. It's like a cup of coffee. It's like chicken soup. I love it. But sometimes I'll literally put the powder in my mouth and I'll just drink it, and then I'll just down it. It's however you want. You know, I literally go in there once in a while. I take my finger when I'm craving a sweet and I feel like I'm going to cheat. I put my finger in the powder and I lick it off like a pixie stick, and all those cravings go away. So that's another use of that powder. I use that more than anything. You know, it's really amazing all the aspects it covers. But I like to hit about 2 grams, 2 cubes or 2 teaspoons of powder pre-workout. Brian, I guess it's recorded. I think Facebook keeps these recorded all the time.
Yeah, I just leave it up in the group. But I don't know, man. We're giving away all our secrets here.
Oh, there's so many secrets. They have no idea what's left. There's plenty going on behind the scenes. But yeah, research, like I said, research the cyclical ketogenic diet, CKD. Go on Google, CKD carb up, training on the CKD, amounts of carbs on the CKD, and then you'll read all the science. But just do not follow their protocol with how many grams per body weight. You're going to consume way too much. If you want to try it, see if you like it. You may hate it, and that's a good thing, and you'll never do it again. Julie, you know, because it's hard to eat all those carbs in one meal. I can eat keto all in one meal with no problem. There's no way I can have that many carbs in one meal without just knocking myself out. So I like to space it out about 3 meals, 250 grams, 225 a meal. You don't have to, but there's no way in hell I could. Look, I can eat 5,000 calories of steak in one sitting. I can never even do half of that with carbs in one sitting. Can't do it. So a couple of meals for sure.
Yeah, we don't deviate from our protocol drastically and eat like 10 meals. Mike and I eat 1 to 2 meals, so we might just have an extra meal on a CKD day, or like he said, an extra concoction or an extra bar at the gas station, because we're both gas station junkies. All right, guys. Well, I think we're going to wind this down. I'm sure you guys will have more questions. If you can, I guess you could leave them in the comments. We can use that for the next time to see what we didn't cover. Hopefully we didn't ramble on too much for you guys, and hopefully, I mean, Mike has a lot of knowledge, and I'm still on the young side of this, but I've been doing it for a while now and seen some results as a result of his protocol. So you can take this to the bank right there. Uh-oh. And if you haven't watched Trench or Treat, we have a sneak preview out. I'm way behind on editing, guys. I have like 2 CKD full day of eatings to edit. I got to edit that, but check it out.
No, Tiffany, absolutely not.
Yeah, Tiffany, good question. Okay, nice try. Can beer be considered for carbs? And she's very serious about it.
And I'm serious. Absolutely not. It's not even a thought. Don't.
Yeah, forget about it. But kids, remember, with carbs, with great carbs comes great responsibility.
Oh, but the video, remember, trenchrtreat.com.
Oh, yeah.
That's where it is.
That's right. Mike owns like every freaking website out there. If you think of a keto website, he's probably the guy who owns the domain. He's addicted, seriously. He doesn't even have anything up. They just redirect to other stuff. You go to trenchrtreat.com very easily. If you want to watch the video, it was pretty fun to do. But we will have the full thing, and Mike talks a lot more in there. The videographer was with us in the car. We had a conversation, and I'll make sure to keep that in there. It's going to be kind of a little more slow because it's more documentary style, but I'll try to put all that stuff in because Mike dropped a lot of good nuggets in there while we were walking around New York. And
Westchester. Westchester, Steve.
Yeah. So anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. Unless you have anything else, Mike, we're good.
Yeah, the only other thing is, yes, you're going to sweat your ass off during the carb up.
Oh,
yes, your heart's going to race. You're going to wake up in a sweat bowl, a pool of sweat. Yes, it's normal. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, bar, that's what I mean. Candy bars, some type of glucose, some type of high carb snack from the gas station is what we're talking about.
You know what it is? It's like a Metrics bar or something that not a shit ton of fat. I mean, you got to be careful because most of those bars are low carb, but I'm guilty. I'll throw in like a Quest bar once in a while. I mean, it's not a big deal. You can have some fat. So, I account for it. So if I'm keeping my fat at say 30 or 40 grams and a Quest bar has, I don't even know what it is, 9, 10, and then I'm aware of it. Maybe I'll have a Lenny and Larry's cookie. I have to really be careful with those because the carb count's phenomenal. It's like 60 grams of carbs, but it's 12 to 14 grams of fat. So we tend to snack on those inappropriately on this, but we got to limit those as well. The macros are great for the carbs, but the fat adds up a little too quickly.
Hey, real quick before we go, your top 3 to 5 CKD foods.
Top 3 to 5.
Yep.
I like Fruity Pebbles. You gotta be careful because the best ones are the worst ones. Like Cinnamon Toast Crunch has the most fat. So you could have 10 bowls of that. That's 50 grams of fat. So get rid of it. I like Fruity Pebbles, all the different type of Fruity Pebbles. The chocolate, the peanut butter, the cinnamon, Frosted Flakes, maple brown and sugar bags, a shitty refined oatmeal, that stuff. But the number one, in my opinion, is cream of wheat. The maple brown and sugar cream of wheat is about 27 grams of carbs, couple grams of protein, and 0 fat. So if you want to be a purist one day and say, I'm going to go no fat, I'm going to do this right. You know what? Have like 4 bags, 3 meals worth. So you're probably going to get 400 grams of carbs right there. And you'll be the perfect keto CKD person, even something I can't do anymore. I don't do that anymore. But cream of wheat is the perfect CKD food. And if you really want to get fun, Angel Food Cake. There's 0 fat. It's all air. So Angel Food Cake, it's all sugar. I mean, it's not, again, these aren't done to be sloppy dirty. They're done because they're convenient and easy to get low fat and a lot of carbs with not a lot of bulk. An Angel Food Cake is big, but it's airy. You can squash it down. You could swallow that in no time. But cereal, once in a while, a bagel. Rice is great. I just don't eat it anymore, but rice is great. Have some rice. The whatever flavor you want. You know, it doesn't matter to me, but it absorbs a lot of water. So be careful. Oh, you know what else is cool? Rice pudding. Rice pudding is perfect. So if you like rice pudding in the cold section with cinnamon, no problem. Go with some rice pudding. That's fun too. But it's simple stuff. There's no low-fat treats. I mean, there's only low-fat Fig Newtons, and they taste like shit.
Well, I have a few favorites too. I have a few favorites. Kodiak pancakes are great because you can get a little bit of protein and it's a good base to make other things. Angel food cake's a good base to add some things to. But of course, I love the Fruity Pebbles. That's just part of Mike's protocol, so I've always just done that. But I like making large bowls of pudding. And the other thing I like doing is going to the yogurt shop and finding the non-fat vanilla ice cream. And then usually for the toppings, they have a cereal bar there. And I'll load up on cereal on top of that. And it's a great treat. It's very low fat, super high carb, probably next to no protein. You know, very
when you came up, we went to TCBY yogurt, and I was afraid they wouldn't have the topping. So I bought a single serving of the cereal, and I put it on the fat-free. So it was, you know, it feels like you're cheating, but it's all part of the macros. I mean, if you can fit them into your macros, I don't really have any rules other than try to limit the fructose if you can figure out the fructose content. You know, don't have regular soda, you know, none of that shit. You know, you got to be careful. It just doesn't work well. But, you know, there's going to be fructose. You know, believe it or not, I read on the internet, I found out that Frosted Flakes has the lowest fructose content of any sugar cereal. So if you want to dabble with Frosted Flakes, go for it. It's supposed to have the lowest amount in a serving.
I love Frosted. Matter of fact, last carb up I had that yogurt, and I found it was low fat, but it was the cinnamon, cinnamon Frosted Flake flavor, and then I put cinnamon Frosted Flakes on top of it. It was amazing.
Oh yeah. Anything
anyways,
cinnamon.
I'm at 15% battery, so that is the countdown for us to go. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. We will leave it up in the group. If you have more questions, please don't blow up Mike and I's private message with one-off questions because we just can't get to them all.
Just keep them in the group because everyone's going to benefit from the answers.
Yeah, keep them in the group. I mean, if you need personal help, then you can reach out to me. Mike's way too busy for it, but I'll see what I can do. I do work with people. So anyhow, we'll leave this video up and see you guys on the interwebs. Peace out.
All right. Hey, peace out.